Welcome to Precept Mastery. I'm Elder Michael Johnson with the Lost Sheep of Israel. And we're going to be going through, and I do apologize because I know a lot of people went over to Precept Mastery, but for some reason we're having some issues over there to where we couldn't really get it to go coincidentally together. But no worries, we're over here and we're going to be going through it. But today we're going to put in some work today. We're going to be putting in a lot of work today because we're going to be going through the Preceptor for people who actually got the Preceptor, to where we're going to be going through John 3:16. And we're going to see this according to precepts on who he's actually talking about. We're actually going to find that out based on precepts. And this is something to where nobody can come against it because we're doing everything directly from the Bible. Also, I do want to let you know to where many people has looked at this, and we also have a challenge that went out, which I'm putting up $1,000 myself. Dr. Shaul have 49,000 going up, and anybody can come forward stating Jesus is the seed of God, and for some reason we cannot get nobody to pick up the challenge. I don't know what's going on there, but normally they sit there and they'll tell you this all day in churches, and the money is sitting there, and the taping is not being on our behalf because it has to be recorded, and it's not for our benefit, but it's for the benefit of the person who actually bringing up the challenge. All you have to do is bring your doctrine, and once you bring it, you prove it, and if we don't pay what is stating there, you can actually just use the video and take it right in court, and it's an open shut case. However, we cannot get a challenger for some reason. And the same thing is they come in and they want to, well, so what is context? So what in context do you mean by the seed? The seed is in the Bible. Everything that we're using is in the Bible, so don't come to us asking those questions, because everything we're doing is according to Scripture. But many people love to say how much their doctrine is solid, this and that. Why you won't bring that doctrine that you say is so solid? And you say Yahweh Shai or Jesus is from the seed of God, why you won't bring it? Because like I tell you, if you flipped it on me and I know what my doctrine is, I'll be there with bells on. Even if you did it for free, I'll show up to show you that the doctrine that I use is directly out the Bible. My doctrine is not mine. It's what the Bible has, and that's why I know our doctrine is stronger. However, everybody else says this. People sit there and they say people teaches this and they don't know why, and they done lost people, all this kind of craziness. But it's either you put your doctrine up or you need to really be quiet. That's really what that boils down to. And as what many other people think is, if your doctrine is solid, hey, put it up. However, we're going to be going through the other part where we're going to be doing John 3:16, which is another doctrine that, again, people love to sit there and believe that he is talking about the entire world. So, if you haven't had a chance, you can actually go over there to the Moad, is the moad.com, MOW-ED.com. You can actually pick up a preceptor, what you're going to be seeing us using over here, what you're going to be seeing, which is going to force us to use precepts of Scripture to actually show you exactly what it's talking about. So what we're going to do, you guys can sit back, we're going to be able to look at it, we're going to be able to go through it, but as we're going through the doctrine, you're going to see exactly who he's talking about. This is what we want to know. We want to know exactly what he's saying. We don't want to use our words, because that's how people woo you. That's how they woo you to get you to believe in other things. Because they'll sit there, for God so loved the world, always talking about all you guys. And that's not the truth. Because before we even pull in it, I'm going to show you some that they love to use. Meaning what? I'm going to show you some of the verses that they love to use in John 3:16. I'm going to pull up my Bible before then, and I'm going to actually put this up, and I'm going to show you John 3:16, and I'm going to actually just read it. And then I'm going to show you some of the verses that they love to use to prove John 3:16 that they say it's talking about the entire world. But we're going to find out the difference. Because it says, and we know that Yahweh is speaking. And it says in John 3:16, and it's one of the most famous scriptures that people have plastered everywhere. They have it tattooed. You name it, it's done. I'm going to tell you, John 3:16 is very popular, and it's a very powerful verse that they love to use to sit there to say, for God so loved the world. So it says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's what the scripture says. Now, watch what some of the verses that they love to use. They have verses that they love to use in this. In one of them is they love to go to Romans 5:8. 5:8. And I'll tell you what 5:8 says. Romans 5:8 says, but God commendeth his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. That's what they use. This is one of the verses they use, that God so loved the world. And this is what he did. But who is the world? It's another one they love to use. Is John 1, chapter 4, 1 John 4 and 9. This is another one they love using to call themselves, and this is why these are relationals which they push you on a thought pattern. These are thought patterns that they push you towards to get you to believe in something that you actually don't see. And they use 1 John 4 and 9. And it says, and this was to manifest the love of God towards us, because that God sent his only begotten Son into the world that we might live through him. That's another verse they use. And you have some people where they say, oh yeah, that's a strong verse, this is a good verse. And technically it's really heresy on how they like to screw the verses up. The verse is true, but what is he talking about? This is what we're going to be going through the preceptor on, because it's going to force you to look exactly what's going on. That's the beautiful point. We're going to look at another one when you can look at 1 John 4 and 16. Why they use this, I do not know. But they love to use that Jesus said unto her, go call thy husband and come hither. I don't know why they use it, but they love using that verse. Now, another one they love to use is, dropped my pen. Another one they love to use is Genesis 22 and verse 16. Why? I don't know. And it says, and he said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, that thou hast not withheld thy Son, thy only Son. You see, and I'm talking about, this is literally in Bibles. These verses. And it's using John, and it's trickling off of John 3:16. So this is why we precept. And you have a lot of people who will go to churches and all over the place, and they'll sit there and say, I'm going to tell you what, John 3:16, for God so loved the world, and they hold on to it. But we're going to see otherwise what it's actually saying. That's the beautiful part about everything when you're using precepts. So what we're going to do, we're going to get myself out of the way, and we're going to start precepting some of this here. So what we're looking at right now, we're looking at the preceptor. If you haven't had a chance, go over there to themoad.com and you will actually be able to purchase one. But what we're going to do, we're going to start going through here, and we're going to look at John 3:16. Why? Because we need to. We got to look at John 3:16 because we have to understand what John 3:16 is saying. And we're going to look at this, and let me put that up, and we're going to I'm going to put this up on here. And I'm going to show people how to actually start using this. But what we're going to do, we're going to use this here, and we're going to put it in here, John 3:16. And I kind of cheated because I copied it. Copied it right there. And it tells you right there. This is the verse that they're using. And we're going to move it later. But this is the verse that they use. John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. What is this talking about? This is what we're going to find out. This is what we will know, and we're going to find out without a doubt what he's actually talking about. So what we're going to do, we're going to put some questions here. And if you haven't got this, you see what I did. I went up there and got this little sticky note. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move this over. And let's move this over here. And I'm going to move this over here too. So what we're going to do, I want you to go right up here right by your name. I want you to see right there. Now right click. You right click on that. Once you right click on it, and it says right up here, show comments. And it says open all pop-ups. You see that? You see this minimize. So now you can make this right there open all pop-up. Now it opened up some other ones that I don't want, which is saying something that is already preset in here. I deleted those. You see that? Now I'm going to delete this one also. But what I'm going to do now, I can click and it still stays there. So what I'm going to also do, I'm going to right click here. I'm going to go down to properties. I'm right clicking there and I'm going to go to properties. And while I'm doing that, I need to check something here. I need to make sure this is set a certain way. And I think I got this. I think I got it, because I know some people was probably saying they was having some issues. But I think I got it right. I think I got this down right. But what we're doing, I'm going down to the comments. And now what we're going to do now, we're going to look at general. I want you to go to general. Why? Because I want you to look at what's actually going to be happening there. Because general is going to help you out. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see what my name is. I'm going to put right there, I'm going to put questions. Questions. Now you see that changes. You see how that changed? Now it's changed to questions. So now I'm going to have that questions, and now I can make this bigger. And you can see I can click around, you see it still stand there. You follow me? Okay. So what we want to do, we're going to use this for questions that we're going to ask. And these are questions that need to be answered. So what we want to know is we're going to look up here and we're going to see right here, for God so loved the world. So for, this is who is talking about something. So we're going to go up to the preceptor and you got who, what, where, why, when, and how. You see that? We're going to say who. Who. We're going to put God. Some of you want to put Yahweh, that's fine. But God. So I want you to do that. We're going to take our time, so don't worry. We're not doing the hour show that you normally see during the week. We're going to go through here. We're going to walk through this. We're going to walk through this. If you don't have a preceptor currently right now, just take notes, because we're going to get the solid foundation on this John 3:16. So we're going to look at this and it's saying God. So we need to define him on this here. So how do we can define this? Because he saying he loved this world. So we're going to put a question here. So we know right here we're going to say question 1. It's saying God so loved the world. So we need to define that. You follow me? We need to define it. Actually, I don't want that. Actually, I want to do it here. Let me change this. 1 second. Let me delete that and put it up here. So we need to define that. God so loved the world. We want to know what this is talking about, because we're going to have to define this here. We're going to have to define world, but we're going to find that out in a little bit. But we want to know who did he love in this manner? See, we have to ask these questions. And what I'm saying is, you cannot be timid when you go inside the Bible and you try to find, oh, well, I couldn't question. No, he has this book here for us to study, to make sure we can show ourselves approved, to know exactly what he's saying. So he loved the world, and we're going to find something, what happened. So let's see one of the things that he loved. We're going to look at Malachi. Let's go down to Malachi. So I want you to write down, people who don't have it, just write down Malachi. And we're going to read that, and we're going to see something. We're going to go to 1 and verse 2. We're going to put love right there. Why? Because we're going to read it. We're going to read Malachi 1 and 2. And it says, I have loved you, saith the Lord. And ye say, where have you loved thee? Where have you loved thou? When hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I loved Jacob. So we know he loved Jacob. So what I want to do here is, we know something. We'll put the Most High God loved Jacob. We know that. That's a fact. And we can put there fact. And how do we know it? We got it right up there. Malachi 1 and 2. This is fact. We clearly know that he loved Jacob. Now, we have to find out, because he's saying he loved Jacob there. You look at it, he say, I have loved you. And then he even goes clear and he says, yet I loved Jacob. So we know that. I'm talking about, it's clear. Now we're going to know here we're showing love. You see that? Now I'm going to show you something that, since it's Jacob, we're going to put a little caveat holder here. And we're going to change this a little bit later, but we're going to put who? Jacob. I don't want you to change. I don't want you to put the change there until we see it. So we're going to put who? We just do this. Who God loved? Jacob. Just put that right there, because we're going to change that. But watch this. Now Jacob made a vow to him. We need to prove that. He made a vow to God. Let's look at this. We're going to go to Genesis 28, verse 20 and 21. All right. He made a vow. He made a vow. Actually, vow. I want to put to God. Actually, let me see. Let me put this. I'll put it this way, because I want it all to fit there. Genesis 3, he did a vow to God. We'll just use it that way. So we need to go read it before I put it down in my notes there, because we're going to get something. Then we're going to also end up writing our own commentary to get all this worked out. So we know that there. So let's go look at what he said, what Jacob made a vow to him. And it says in Genesis 28, verse 20, it says, and Jacob vowed a vow. Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if Yahweh, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on. See, that actually clears up a lot of monotony that's out there already. So that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahweh be my God. You see, this is a vow he made to God. God loved him and he made a vow. He made this and he made a vow. But we're going to see here where God wants you to pay your vows to him. We got to pour this in there. We're going to look at this. We're going to go to Psalms. We're going to go to 50 and 14. We're going to go to 50 and 14. And we're going to have to change that, but watch. 50 and 14, it says, offer unto God thanksgiving. And it says more, and pay thy vows unto the Most High. So God looks for you to pay your vows to him. So we can put vows to God. Jacob made a vow, and right here he's telling you, and you pay your vows. So let's go back down here, and we need to look at, see, because right now we just getting fact. Fact to what? Jacob made a vow, and God commands you to pay your vows to him. You see that? That's a fact. And actually, I'm going to see if I can bold this. I want to bold that and bold this because I want to change these for those reasons. And I'm right clicking, then I just go down to where I change it. So how do we know that happened? We're gonna reference it. We're gonna look at Genesis. Genesis. We're gonna look at 28, 20, and 21. You see that? And I'm gonna space that, and then we're gonna do Psalms 50 and verse 14. So we know here where it says Jacob made a vow and God commands you to pay your vows to him. So we know Jacob made a vow here, and this he commands you to pay your vows. And this is what is actually being said right up here. This is actually what's been saying right there, clear as day. So if Jacob made his vow and he's paying his vow, and that's your promise to God, now God did something. The Most High God did something for Jacob. He did something for Jacob. And this is the simplest way that you're going to find out. We're not doing it in a complex way where we normally will do. We're going to do this in a simplified way to where you can actually just write these down and you can get it. But it's a more complex way that I actually do these. But we're going to do this in a simple way to where you get what's going on. So we want to look at it a little bit more. God, Yahweh, did something to Jacob, because we were going to pay that vow. He was going to pay that vow. So what did God do? What did he do? We're going to look at this. We're going to go to Genesis. We're going to see what he did. Genesis, and we're going to go to 32. We're going to go to 27 and 28. And then we're going to come back, and we're going to see what he did, and we're going to come back and put that there. And then we're going to make a note down in our bottom part to where we know, to where we're going to keep up with what's going on. 27, it says, and he said unto him, what is thy name? He said, Jacob. And he said, who, y'all, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. You see that? His name changed. What that means? A prince of God. A prince of God. That's what Israel means. That's what it means, because it's a prince of God, because that's God's name. For as, compare it, a prince has thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed. So we know here, we'll put here, and we'll just put here, just a change name. I just put that there. And what I do here, I'm going to make a note down here. We're going to do a fact. We just want to do facts because we're trying to prove something. So fact, God changed the name. God changed, let me do Jacob. Jacob name to Israel. Where did he do it? Genesis. He did it in Genesis 32, 27 to 28. Fact. See, these is not guessing. You see the way we're rolling with this. This is no guessing here. So we know that this here, so we got a fact that God loved Jacob. See, this is fact. We know that in Malachi 1 and 2. There's no guessing. Fact. Jacob made a vow to God. And God commands you to pay your vows to him. Fact. In Genesis 28, 20, 21, and Psalms 50 and 14. These are facts. Facts. I'm clear. Clear as day. Now watch this. Fact. God changed Jacob's name to Israel. How do we know? It says right here. So if he changed the name to Israel, now we do know that God is spirit. God is a spirit. So if he's a spirit, we know that normally you're looking at the flesh, but we have to look at how he said it, because he changed his name. Are you following me? We're gonna figure out why in a minute. So if he changed his name to a spiritual name, and some people sit there, well, it's spiritual Israel. No, it's of the spirit, but you have to be from the flesh, because he changed Jacob's name. We're going to find out why and how that actually works. Meaning what? Meaning what? So you have to worship God in a certain way. Let's put this here. We're going to look at another thing. We're going to go to John. And we're going to put these here. We're putting facts here to prove a point. We're going to go down to John. And we're going to look at 4. And this is going 23 and 24. And what is this saying? He's spirit. He's spirit. And how can we prove this? We're going to go to John 4:24, and we're going to find out something. And we'll change the name. Well, we can even put spirit there, but don't worry about it for right now. We're going to do this in 1 second, Okay, we're going to look at 23, and it says, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers, your true worshiper, shall worship the Father. Now, you see it's saying the Father. The Father. So what is Jacob? So what is Jacob? He's the wife. So the true worshiper worship Father in the spirit and in truth. So you have to worship him in spirit and the truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. Why? God is spirit. You see that? And they that worship him must, you're commanded, must worship him in spirit and in truth. So, fact. We just putting in facts. We're going to get all our stuff together here. That God is a spirit. Also, that kills that where Jesus is 100% man and 100% spirit. That nonsense that they love to teach, which is total nonsense. And God is spirit. And if God is 100, if Jesus is 100% man, 100% spirit, how did they kill him? Common sense. But that's beside the point. So God is spirit and must be worshipped, and this is why we got to do it this way. Worship in spirit and truth. We know that how? Because we got a verse there. John 4, 22, 23, and 24. This is what we know. These ain't something you see. We're not guessing nothing. No guesswork nowhere. Precepts. And we're going to find out a lot of shocking things as we do this, because it's clear as day. These are facts. How do we know this is a fact? Because the Bible said so. Not nothing Elder Johnson said, not nothing anyone else said. These are facts, clear in Scripture. Clear in Scripture. And somebody might sit here and say, no, this is not true. You can sit there and tell them they are not being honest with you, and they telling you a bold-faced false truth, because those are facts, and all these facts are in the Bible. And people have a problem with precepts because these are facts that are being proven. Now, we know that he changed Jacob's name. And he called us, and actually we're going to put another one in, it tells you, for the Father. And then, so we're going to do another fact. What? God is the Father. How do we know? Because we're going to tell you what? One, we're going to use the same place, but then we're going to use something else. Watch what happens. We're going to use John. We're going to look at 4. We're going to look at 23. That's all you need. Just all you need right there. Because it tells you that in 4:23, it says, but the hour cometh, and now is, that the true worshiper shall worship the Father. That's all you want. You don't want to add to something and it's not there. Because this is where we can get in trouble. This is where we can get in trouble. Okay? So we're going to look at Jacob again. We need to go to Jacob. Why? Because Jacob is going to say something that's shocking too. Watch this. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 49 in verse 2. Call God our Father. And this is in you call God our Father. That's what he did. But we're going to go there and we're going to look at it. We're going to look at everything because we're going to tear this down. Now, watch what he says here. Watch how close and what he does here. Now, let's look at this real close. Genesis chapter 49, verse 2. It says, gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob. So they know they came from the loins of Jacob. But watch what he says here, and hearken unto your father Israel. You see how Jacob flipped it on you? So you're going to hearken, you sons of Jacob, but you're going to hearken to your father Israel, the spiritual side. Who changed his name? The Father. How do we know? Fact. God is the Father. How do we know? John 4:23. It's clear. It's a fact. Now, we know here, we're going to use here also, we want to put Genesis, and we're going to add something to it. We're going to go to 49 in verse 2. But what we're going to do, here, actually I want to put a semicolon there. Why? Because Jacob calls God our Father. You see that? How do we know? Because it's clear. It's right there in Scripture. Facts. We ain't asking for leniency or asking you to try to look at something a different way. We doing just straight facts. Straight facts. Meaning what? For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. These are facts right now, that right now so far, only Jacob, we pinpointed. Only Jacob. Only Jacob. And we have proof of just being overwhelmed. You can see right here, it's being overwhelmed. But we got to start proving some things, because it's going to start proving on who he's dealing with. On who he's dealing with. So we know here who and what. Let's do some what and figure out something. Let's do some what and figure out something. God's law. God's law. We need to figure out what God's law. Wait a minute, let me change that. What? We actually want to. Let me change this. Actually, I did this wrong. I need to change. I need to change that. Actually, I did it. I did that differently. I do apologize. I need to change that a bit. But let me work this out, and then I'll come right back to it. But the main thing is, but we're still going to be using that. It doesn't matter. But what we want to do, we want to make sure is God's law. Because this is who he loved. And that's why I put in my notes in the wrong area. But God did his law. And we got to understand who has his law. Because he loved Jacob, and Jacob made a vow to God, and God gives the law. Meaning what? We got to figure that out. So what we're going to do, we're going to go down to Psalms. And a lot of this is explanatory. 147. We're going to look at 19 in verse 20. 19 in verse 20. Excuse me. And we're going to sit there and find out something. It says, he showeth his word unto Jacob. He showeth his word unto Jacob. Excuse me. His statute and his judgments unto Israel. So we know this here is getting into the laws. We just put God's laws. And it says, he had not dealt so with any nation, for as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So, we need another fact down here. We building up a lot of facts. We building up this case against, and we're going to find out who God loved. That's what we're doing. We're building up this case to find out who we actually talking about. So we're going to do another fact. See, these are facts. And we know that only Jacob was given the Most High God laws. How do we know? Because he says right there in Psalms 147, 19 and 20. Fact. How do we know? It tells you that. So we know God is the Father. And Jacob calls God our Father. And only Jacob was given the laws of God. And actually we need to put a little bit more. And Israel was the only nation to receive his what? Judgments and what? In what? In his statutes. How do we know? It tells you right there. Tells you right here. His judgments and his statutes. Israel is the only nation that received them. No one else received them. That's it. That's it. This is a fact. This isn't guessing games. We're not guessing nothing. This is a fact. Only Jacob was given the Most High God's laws, and Israel was the only nation to receive his judgments and statutes. How do we know that? Because he tells you right there, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. How can people, well, no, he changed it. No, this is fact. A fact. We can put another thing here. And we can put and you see how that stays out where we do this. And we just gonna put some little notations here. And we're gonna look at something. I'm just gonna put my notes. So you see that right there. So what I'm gonna put in my notes. One, that God is spirit and must be worshiped in the spirit. So that's what we know. So that God is spirit and must be worshiped in the spirit. So we know that because we got all the facts over there. In any vow that he makes, we know these. So these are just some things that we need to know. And more so he must be worshipped in the spirit. But now we know a little bit more about him. So if we know that he only showed it to Jacob, we need to understand Jacob, he changed his name to Israel. So if he changed his name to Israel, we got to go under and understand what he was doing. So he will punish Israel because he can't punish somebody else because they don't have his laws. How he's going to punish you and he don't have your laws? So we got to understand what's going on here. So what we got to do, we got to look at a little bit more. So who will he punish for violating his laws? Who will he punish for violating his laws? The spiritual name is Israel, changed by God. But the name and the people he deals with is Israel. And actually I need to change that. And I need to and I need to change this one here. Actually, I don't know why I did it that way, but normally, but now both will stay up, so we shouldn't have no problem. So we need to put this Amos chapter 3 verse 1 and 2. Why? Because we're going to read that. And it says, hear this word that Yahweh has spoke against you. Who? O children of Israel, the name that he changed to, who was Jacob. Against the whole family. So it's all 12. We're going to find out some stuff on that too. Because we're going to pinpoint all of this. We're going to get all this together. And this is where when people say, well, I need to do a Bible study and I'm going to just go look at this and let me go look at some references in the Bible. No. When you want to look at this, you have to start tearing this down to understand what he's actually saying. This is the important part. We have to understand what he's actually saying. We don't come here to where we want to just find out something good and kumbaya, everybody go off and everybody's good. No, this is a Bible study according to precepts. See, everybody don't want to learn the Bible. Most people just want to get there and get a verse here and a verse there where they can walk around and pick and choose verses and throw them at somebody. This is not what we're not here to do. We're here to study. And we're going to do these studies. And we got to follow through with them. But he's telling you. He said, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, only you have I known of all the families of the earth. So we know that God is spirit and must be worshipped in spirit in the spirit. We know this here. But he's saying right here, he only known Israel. So right here, we know this here. His laws only to Israel. And I just put it right there. So we know this is a fact. What? That the Most High God only known, because he tell you that, only known Israel. Actually, let's put a little bit more of all the families. I want to do. Of all the families of the earth. How? How do we know this? And we're going to look at verse 2. 3 and 2. Fact. God only known Israel of all the families of the earth. You see how we kind of is starting to narrow down quite a bit. So when we sitting there seeing, for God so loved the world, and actually you need to save this as you guys go and make sure that you save this. And as we going down, we seeing that he only known Israel. This is starting to shrink. So he also said, and he's only going to punish Israel over his laws, because it was given to him. They was given directly to them for violating his laws, his vows. Because he told you what? He told you to pay your vows. How do we know? Because he said it right there in Psalms 50 and 14. Can't get around it. See, now we got some things to where it's so concreted, Israel can't get around it, because only Israel received those laws. How do we know? He tells you that in Psalms 147, 19 and 20. Tells you right there. And it's a fact right here. These here, which we later put into over here where we have to do a whole layout and write it out. But right now, we can't get around it, because Israel is the one that those laws was written to. You cannot change this in any way possible, because people will sit there and let them tell you some lies which is not of the truth, and then they're going to sit there, oh, well, what about this, or what about that, what about this? No, you go with those facts. Those facts are right there in front of you. Don't change that. So he was clearly speaking to a people. To a people. To a people. But watch this. We're going to hold on to a little bit more. So we're going to see something again. This is why I had to say I had to change it. Who? Yahushua. Now we can put this somewhere else, but we're just going to put that there. We're going to put that there. Why? He made a statement. He made some statements, which we know that can't be changed. Who? Yahushua seeking Israel. How do we know? He made some statements. Let's look at them. We're going to go to one. Let's go down here, and we're going to go to something. And this is actually going this going to shock people. And actually, in a lot of people Bibles, where you can go to NIVs and stuff like that, they actually took these verses out. Matthew 18 and verse 11. And we're gonna put what it actually says there, but let's go and read it and see it. It says, "For the Son of Man is come to save which was lost." So he came seeking Israel. So we know here, fact. Can't get around the fact that Yahushua came seeking, as he said, which was lost. How do we know? Matthew 18 verse 11. Can't get around it. Cannot get around it if you wanted to. So, is the world as it is, and we're going to get to that too. Don't worry, we're going to get all this straightened out. But these are facts that we can't get around. Because he came, who? Yahushua seeking Israel. Who? Yahushua seeking Israel. Who God loved? Jacob. Yahushua seeking Israel. And he came seeking. So he was seeking, was lost. Let me just say seek. Let me just say we'll just do this temporarily, just for space. So, and I need to put seeking. I want to put seeking. I just put that there. Seeking the lost. We'll do it that way. But let's see, is it more? Is it more? Yeah, it's more. Let's look at Luke. And literally, with some of you guys who actually out there, we have some people who go do Bible studies and everything. You take this study and you sit with your people and you show them this. Show them the truth. And you see, we're not adding nothing to this. But we're going to look at Luke 19 and verse 10. 19 and verse 10. And what did he say there? He said something real shocking there. The Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost. To seek and to save. So this is another fact. How do we know? Luke. Luke, and we're going to look at 19 and verse 10. 19 and verse 10. How can you get around it? Can't. Facts. These are clear facts. Why? The Bible tells you so. We're not adding, not subtracting nothing, just pulling the precepts within here to know what's going on. To know what's going on. But he came to seek and to save the lost. The lost. So, again, who? Who? Who is lost? Who is lost? Israel. How do we know? You see all these who's here? And then I change it because I do more that's really kind of complex. That's why I tried to really simplify it to where we just honing in on some things. And then you're going to see I'm going to change it as we go. Those facts, but I'm going to put those facts there to where we can go back on. So, how do we know who is lost? Israel. How do we prove this? We're going to go to Isaiah 1 and verse 3. How do we know? Let's read it. Simple and read. It says, an ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel do not know. My people do not consider. My people do not consider. You see this? Do you see what's going on here? Israel is lost. So we're going to put a fact here. You see a fact. Israel. How? Isaiah 1 and 3. That's clear as day. But we're gonna be putting some more to it. We're gonna be putting some more to this. Why? So we just put so we know that Israel is lost. But you have people doing another thing. So what is the purpose of being lost? So you won't know what your inheritance is. All they have to do is change the name. All they have to do is change the name and you can be lost. See, it's the same as, you see, once they change the name, you can become lost. Let's look at that. Let's go to Psalms. '83 in verse 4. We need to read that, and we're going to get some understanding on that. And it cannot be refuted once you get this. So it says, "For they have said," who? "Come, let us cut them off from being a nation," being the family of people, "that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance." Israel. That's what they want to change. They can change the name. They can get you lost. And I want to cut from the name. And I put that in here. So fact. We're going to put that. And what they doing that they want to do. They want to Israel you want to cut Israel from the name. And being a nation. How do we know? So it's saying cut Israel from the name and being a nation. How do we know? Psalms 83 in verse 4. Facts. Pure facts. You see this case of these precepts that's being built. Cut off from the name. That's why when they took us into captivity over here, what did they say? To change your name. You can go look at the Atlantic slave trade. You see everybody had the name Yah somewhere in their name, showing you who you actually belong to, who you are the property of. So, what do we also know? So, Yahushua was seeking Israel. He was seeking the lost and to save them. But we can maybe find out something real particular. Let's see what else he came to do. So, we putting our case together. We putting our case together. We're going to look at Matthew 15 in verse 24. 15 in verse 24. And it says, "But he answered and said, I am not sent but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So Yahushua was only sent to them. Let me put only sent to Israel. I do it that way. Only sent to Israel. How do we know? Fact. Save it. Let's go down. And we're going to do a fact. So now we kind of got a case, and now we're going to overview, and then we're going to move forward. So let's do a fact. Yahweh was only sent to Israel. How do we know? Matthew. And we got 15, verse 24. Fact. Can't get around it. Now, let's look at some of this. So, we know that God so loved the world. And that's the question. That was the question that was being asked. So, we're going to say fact. The Most High God loved Jacob. We know that. So, we know that Jacob made a vow to God. You see this? And he paid, and God commands you to pay your vows to him. So we know this in Genesis 28, 20, and 21. And we know in Psalms 50 and 14 that he says you pay your vows. But Jacob made that vow, so God changed Jacob's name. How do we know? In Genesis 32, verse 27, 28. He changed the name of Jacob. And so Jacob had to worship God in spirit and in truth. And that's how you are to worship him. How do we know this? Because God is a spirit and must be worshipped in spirit and truth. How do we know? In John 4, 23, 24. Now, we know that God is the Father. Since he changed the name, how do we know? In John 4, 23, we know that it's mentioned, but then we know in Genesis 49, Jacob calls God our Father. You see this? We just building the case. Now, we got another fact here. We got only Jacob was given the laws, the Most High God. He was given Jacob given the Most High God laws, and Israel was the only nation to receive his judgments and the statutes. How do we know this? In Psalms 147, 19, and 20. These are things you can't even refute. Why? Because it's all facts. It's all precepts. Fact. Can't change it. They can't say, oh, he changed later because Malachi 3 and 6 tells you for I'm the Lord, I changed not. I didn't even put those in there, but those actually end up going in there. Psalms 89, 34, he tells you clear as day, for he will not alter what have gone from his lips. These are all facts. Let's move on a little bit more. The Most High God only known Israel. How do we know that? Of all the families of the earth, how do we know that? In Amos 3 and 2. Can't change that. That's a fact. A fact. You can't change it. I don't care how you flip it, script it, change it, lip it, whatever. It's always going to be the same. And that's why they written other Bibles to where they can try to twist the truth. Now, Yahweh came on the scene, came to seek which was lost. How we know that? He tells you that in Matthew 18, 11, which is a verse that they actually removed out of many Bibles. And then Yahweh came to seek and to save, clarifying it, which was lost. He tells you that in Luke 19, verse 10. How can you get around it? Can't. Why? It's a fact. How do we know that? Go read the verse and you'll see it's going to say exactly what I'm saying. I'm not adding or taking anything away from this verse. Just making facts. Now, let's see who was lost. Israel was lost. How do we know? Fact. Isaiah 1 and 3. He talking about dumb animals, but Israel can't even consider who they are. Why? Because they took the name. They took the name. Now, fact. They cut off, actually let me change that. They cut Israel from the name and being a nation. How do we know? Psalms 83 verse 4. It's fact. Can't change it. Fact. Yahweh was only sent to Israel. People say, well, he was sent to the whole world. No, he was sent to Israel. Why? Tells you right there in Matthew 15, 24. Can't change it. I am not sent but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Fact. Straight facts. Can't get around it. Cannot get around it. So, let's look at a little more. let's look at it a little more. So we're going to look at, we need some more facts. So we know in John 3:16, it says, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. You see all these precepts here? Look at all those precepts right there, proving the point. And we haven't even gotten to the main point. So we got to look at something. We need to look at something who he was praying for. So we want to ask the question. Actually, let's move this right down here. Who Yahushua was praying for. And actually, well, let me move this down right there, and I'm gonna put a line here. I'm gonna do some things here. I'm gonna do bold, and then I'm gonna put a line. I'm gonna put an underline there. Who he was praying for. He came seeking. So these are questions we need to ask. So if Yahushua came seeking the lost sheep of Israel, so if he came seeking the lost sheep of Israel, who was he praying for? We got to figure that out. I'm gonna tell you, I'm notorious for doing this. So I'm gonna do this because I hate to be near the end and it just drives me crazy. So forgive me on that one. But that's namely how I do it. So we know this. So who is Yahushua praying for? So we're gonna look at some more facts. So he came to the lost sheep, but watch this. So he's praying, but who was he praying for? Let's look at something. We're gonna pull some precepts. It's gonna break hurt a lot of people's feelings. So we're gonna look at John, chapter 17, in verse 9, and then we're gonna change what that is because we're gonna put beside it what it's actually doing. So John 17:9, we're gonna see what they say. So he says, "I pray for them. I pray not for the world." Okay, so what is he saying? But for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. So they belong to him. Who? Israel. Kind of nailing that down, correct? So he prayed for who? Who is he praying for? Actually, let me put this here. Praying for so he's praying for Israel. How do we know that? It tells you right here when he changed his name to Israel. And we're going to get proof behind it because we're going to get the facts behind it. So, fact. So Yahushua, we're going to find out some, is not the world. How do we know? Because you see, I'm not sitting there saying he's praying for them, but he's not praying for the world. But I do it this way, but for them. How do we know? We're going to look at John 17, verse 9. You see, I haven't changed anything. It's saying the same thing. I pray for them. And that's all I'm saying. Yahushua is not praying for the world because he tells you that. But he's praying for them, but for them. You see how that is? It's clear as day. We're going to run through this preceptor, and this is why it's so solid. Why? Because these are facts that is being given. So when people are sitting there, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. Right now, we got the facts, and we pulling this down. We're going to find out who he's actually talking about. For they are thine. So if they are thine, he's talking about like a possession. Because they are thine. You understand that? See, we want to make sure always what's going on. Thine. What do thine mean? What do thine mean? When something belongs to you. That's mine. Thine. It belongs to you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we need to prove those facts. We need to prove those facts. Who? Yahushua. And we need to understand, he's saying they are thine. So we need to understand something. And we're going to change this. And normally what I do it a different way, but I'm looking at a way to where I can change this, because God, Yahweh, thing in life is not to confuse anyone. So so I'm not going to do it in the way that I normally do it, because it'll confuse. He says, for they are thine. For they are thine. So we still know who? God. Who belongs to what? So he gave Israel those laws. But watch this. This is real important. We're going to go to Leviticus. And we're going to put something in there. We need to put in something in there. We're going to go to 25 in verse 42. And we're going to put another verse in there. We got another verse in there to put in there. Because he said, for they are thine. But we need to prove a point, because Yahushua is making this statement clear that these people belong to you. And now watch this. For they are my servants. Wow. And who's saying this? We know the Most High is saying this. For they are my servant, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They are not to be sold as bondsmen. Thou shalt not rule over them with rigor. Thou shalt fear thy God. So he's telling you need to fear thy God. So we know this. They belong to God. Who? Israel. But watch this. We're going to put 55 there, where he's going to make this clear. And he owns Israel. We're going to put owns. I just do it right like that. I just put own Israel, but we're going to make that clear in our notes to where we can do it later. So let's look at verse 55 in chapter 25. And it says, for unto me the children of Israel are servants. You see that? They are my servants whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh your God. So he's telling you who he is, and they are his. He owns you. Who? All Israel. So we got to do another fact. Meaning what? The Most High God, what? Owns Israel. And Israel is the Most High God's servants. How do we know that? Tells you right here in Leviticus. Leviticus, we're going to look at 25. And we're going to go through 25, 42. 42 and 55. That's a fact. These are facts you cannot get around nowhere. Off this one verse, we've proven all this stuff right so far. Israel. Israel belongs to him. Can't get around it. You cannot get around this. You cannot change this if you wanted to. Are you following me? So we know this to where some things say, and then we're going to do an overview to get even more understanding there. So we got to see some things here. So we know that Yahushua is not praying for the world, but for them. And the Most High owns Israel, and Israel is the Most High God's servant. How do we know? Because he told you this. It's a fact. You can't change it. It's a fact. And do he own anybody else? Do he owns anybody else? We got to look at some facts. We're going to pull some facts. So if he owns Israel, we're going to see what he did. So we're going to go over here. We're going to go to my main man. And we're going to go to second Hebraist. We're going to go to second. That's technically a better way. People. Who? Israel. Over to many. And upon the one root thou hast prepared others. And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? I don't even know what to say. See, because he's telling you right there, the one people. Lord, why hast thou given this one people over the many? Upon the one root thou hast prepared others. Why hast thou scattered thy only one people? Israel. So we know here is one people. Is one people that he's talking about. Fact. I know them changes getting real close and honed down. Well, I know a lot of people want to probably, dang, I don't know. I might need to change. I don't want to know what the truth is on this. Well, we just finding out what the truth is. So it's one people. So how do we know this? So we know this that it's saying that the Most High God scattered. Scattered one people. How do we know this? Second Hebraist. Second Hebraist, and we're going to look at 5 and 28. That's how we know. That's how we know. That's how we know. But he did some more. So one people, the Most High God scattered. One people. But he did more. He did more. We're going to see what that is. We're going to sit there and prove this one people. And he chosen this one people. One people. And we're going to put right here, we're going to go back to second Hebraist. And we're going to do 5:23 to 28. Chosen one. We need to read it. So let's look at this at Second Hebraist chapter 5 verse 23, and let's pick that up and we're going to see what that say. And it says, O Lord, thou bearest rule of every wood of the earth. For of all the trees thereof thou hast chosen the one only vine. The one only vine. It's not saying a bunch of vines. Thy one only vine. It's not saying a couple. One. Verse 24. In all the lands of the whole world, all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit. In all the flowers thereof, one lily. All the depths of the sea, thou hast filled thee one river. Meaning what? With that knowledge. One people. In all the built cities, thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself. It's all singular. It's not talking in plural. But people say, so God so loved the world. We honing in on this. We honing in on this. Watch this. And of all the fowls that are created, thou hast named thee one dove. In all the cattle, so the one dove he named is who? Israel, Jacob. He named the one dove. In all the cattle that are made and provided thee one sheep. So all the cattle that are made, thou hast provided thee one sheep. Among all the multitudes of people, I don't know how much more blunter you need him to get. Thou hast begotten thee one people. And unto his people whom thou lovest, thou givest a law that is approved of all. You think they didn't want that out of there? And they didn't want you guys to have that? You really think they want that there? Think about that. So, what do we have here? Fact. In fact, what we're going to do. The Most High God is one people. Israel. How do we know? Because this is all he's been talking about the entire time. And this is, we're going to find out that even more. We're going to do this second address. We're going to go to 5:23 to 28. He's choosing one. And we're going to nail this down. We're going to nail this completely down, which I know a lot of people getting upset. But that's beside the point. We need to know what the truth is. So we know up here it says God scattered one people. He scattered one people. So we know he scattered the one people. Let's see something. Let's go here to Ezekiel. And we just getting all our ammunition just ready. We're going to go to 28 in verse 25. And we're going to see what that says right there. Ezekiel, and it says, thus saith the Lord God, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel. Wow. You're not talking about, you see, he's talking about one people. From the people among whom they are scattered shall be sanctified in them. So he shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen. So you're still going to be separated amongst the heathen. Doesn't matter where you are. Even though you're there, you're going to be separated amongst the people. People, when you use precepts is like kryptonite to false truth bringers. Because these here, you cannot argue the point. I don't care what you do. You cannot argue these precepts at all, because all these are facts. So scatter them amongst the heathen, in the sight of the heathen, and they shall dwell in their land that I have given unto my servant Jacob. Fact. Fact. But we know right here, he scattered us. So we're going to look at another one. And we're going to put in Ezekiel. And we want this. We want Ezekiel 28 in verse 25. Proving the point. We haven't even got to Deuteronomy 28:68 and Deuteronomy 28:15. We haven't even looked at that yet. But he scattered us. He scattered us. How? Show you what happened. Let's look at some things right here. So we know here we were scattered. Put scattered Israel. So we know this is happening. So fact. And he's telling you what he did. Scattered you among people. How do we know? Because he tells you this, Ezekiel. And we're going to look at 28 and verse 25. That's how you know. Fact. So who is Yahweh praying for? The same people that is scattered. Now why my thing is not, I don't want to make this colon bold. So we know this is fact. Yahweh came to seek into this lost sheep, which who he was praying for. Yahweh is not praying for the world, but for them in John 17:9. In the Most High owns Israel. Israel is the Most High God's servant. How do we know? Leviticus 25:42 and 55. The Most High God scattered one people, Adris 5:28. 2 Adris 5:28 and Ezekiel 8:25. The Most High God has one chosen people, and that is Israel, telling you right there in Adris 5:23 to 28. And the Most High God scattered Israel among the people. So we do know one thing. How many people are it? How many nations is it? How many nations? That's a question. So many is Israel, or let me do it, or let me see, how many nations is Israel, or is Israel one nation? The reason why I want to put it a certain way, I want to name it a certain way to where we can't, I like to make it to where I can't get around it. Is why I do that a lot of times. So how many nations is Israel? Or is Israel one nation? I want to make sure I do it that way to where we can't get around it. That's what I like to do. So We need to know. We need to know. Now we know that Jacob said, hearken unto your father Israel. How do we know that? We know that right up here where his name was changed, but God is a spirit, and we know God is the Father, and Jacob called God our Father, and we know that in Genesis 49:2. So who is Israel, and how many is in Israel? So, the nation. We're going to find out something. So, he know that he did something. Let's look at this. We're going to go to 2nd Esdras. And this is why some people really hate the Apocrypha, and why those people actually change so much stuff in the Bible. We're going to look at 2nd Esdras. And we're going to go to chapter 14 and verse 11. Something most people don't even want to go to. Why? Because it tells you the truth. Now, it says, for the world, for God so loved the world, for the world is divided into 12 parts. That's why Yahweh was saying he wasn't praying for the world as a whole, but he was praying for the world that is divided into 12 parts. And the 10th part are gone already, in a half of a 10th part. Boy, crazy, ain't it? But guess what? We have to put that there. So we know the world is divided into 12 parts. So we know here the world. And what we're going to do right here is to 12 parts, meaning "12 nations" or 12 sons. How do we know that? Because you go over there to Genesis 49 and verse 28, it'll tell you that it was 12 sons. But we know this here, and we know this is in 12 parts. And we're going to get the clarification of that anyway. However, we're going to put that there, and we know this is there, and we're going to sit there, and now we're going to know 2nd Esdras, and we're going to look at 14 in verse 11. That's how we know. The world is divided into 12 parts. Period. Let's look at this again. For God so loved the world, and the world is divided into 12 parts. He gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever, 12 parts, believe in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Kind of see problems here that people want to teach. So we need to prove the point. We need to prove the point. So we know that the world was divided into 12 parts, but it's saying that a 10th part was gone already. So Israel is lost. We got to come back down here. And we're going to go to 1 Kings. Why? Because we got to prove who was taken. Who was taken? 1 Kings 11, verse 31. Let's go there. Let's look at it and understand it. And it says, and he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I rent the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. and give 10 tribes to thee. Now, if you want to go back and look at that main part again, we're going to look at that again. We're going to look at Decrees 14, verse 11. It says, and the word is divided into 12 parts, and the 10th part is gone already. In 1 Kings tell you he's giving Jeroboam 10 tribes. Interesting. But we got to put the fact there, because this is a fact. And then we got to put this here. Fact that what? That 10 tribes went to who? To Jeroboam. How do we know? 1 Kings chapter 11 verse 31. But he goes on more. Watch in verse 35. But I will take the kingdom out of the son's hand and will give it to thee, even 10 tribes. Where do it say that at? Ten tribes taken. So we know here. So I'm going to add some more here. So we know what he had, what happened. So fact, 10 tribes went to Jeroboam. We know that. And the kingdom was taken out of his hand. And we know these are 10 tribes. We know these are 10 tribes of Israel. We know that. You see how this is going? Because he's going to still clarify more. But these are facts that we're proving. You can't get around it. You can't dance around it, because these are all just facts. All just plain facts. But he goes on better. Let's look at another one. We got to look at it a little bit closer. We got to look at it a little bit closer. So we got to see something where the Most High is talking. So we know that Yahweh God, he loved, but then we also know something else. He's jealous. We know he's jealous. He's a jealous God. And we got to put that there. We're going to put 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 14. And what we want to make sure, and I just put he's jealous. So we want to understand what he's saying there. So we know he's jealous. And it says, and he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel, you see how he's being more plain to the point, but then God also tell you that he's a jealous God. But he said, but the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant. See, you broke that vow. Throw down thy altars and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only am left, and they seek my life to take it away. Plain as day. Plain as day. Plain as day. So we need to find out these men of Israel. So the ones that are lost, we're going to sit there. Israel is lost. And we're going to see something else. We got to look over here And we're going to get something. We're going to go to Isaiah. And we're going to pull some information there that we need. And then we're going to look at Isaiah. We're going to look at chapter 41 in verse 14. We need to see what that one says. Let's look at what that says there. And it says, "Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith the Lord." You don't see it saying not the world. So ye men of Israel, God would help. Fact. Men of Israel, the Most High God will help. How do we know? Isaiah 41 verse 14. Can't get around it. Men of Israel, God will help. Why? Because he said so. He said so. How do we prove the point? How do you prove the point? So we need to figure out even New Testament, where it was being lost, what Paul was even saying. Paul even made statements. Paul made clear statements here, and people failed to realize and wouldn't even do them. Let's look at this. So we saying Israel. Who is Israel? Who is lost? Israel. Paul came and spoke to them also. How do we know? People sitting there saying Paul came to everybody else, but we can really see something very important what Paul said. We're going to look at this. We have to look at it real close. We're going to look at Acts. We're going to look at chapter 26, verse 6 and 7. Who Paul, we just say, spoke to. And we're gonna clarify that down here, but we're just gonna go read it, and I'm gonna clarify it down there. But that's just a holder up there to where we'll know it. So it says there. It says, "And now I stand and am judged for the hope in the promise made of unto our fathers, unto which promise are 12 tribes." The world, serving God day and night, hope to come, for which hope sake, King Agrippa, I am accused of the Jews. So he was only going to 12 tribes. But people will tell you that Paul went to the world as a whole, and Paul never said that. 12 tribes. So Paul was accused of instantly serving God to the 12 tribes, to tell them to come back to the covenant. That's all Paul was accused of. Instantly serving God. Why? Because we are servants. How do we know this? It tells you this right up here. The Most High God owns Israel, and we're God's servants. So we need to go back and serve him. We need to go back and serve him. So we got a fact. We have a fact. Returning to the Most High God. And I put how do we know? (26) Fact. Can't get around it. Cannot get around it if we wanted to. Cannot get around it if we was begging to. Yeah, I'm talking like clear as day. Facts. Facts, more facts, and more facts. So, we have that, and then we know God is a spirit and must be worshipped in a spirit. Now, we got a question. How many guys is there? How many guys is there? We need to answer that question. How many guys is there? Most people will tell you it's 3. Some will tell you it's 2. And scripture tells you how many there are. So who is Yahweh? We need to answer that question. Who God, so we can even put up there, who is God? He's the one that loves, the one that makes sure you pay your vows, and this is who he is. And we're going to find out some things that are going to shock many people. That's all facts, and we pull them right out the Bible. So we need to understand, who is God? It answers it. But people will tell you it's a Trinity. You don't see Trinity in the Bible. They say triune. Triune is not in the Bible. They'll come up with all these fancy names to fool you, to pull you away from what the truth is. So we need to know who is God. Who is he? Let's find out something. Let's go to Deuteronomy. We're going to find out according to the law. According to the law. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 6 and verse 4. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4. We're going to hear what Moses them has to say. Hear, O Israel. It doesn't say hear the world. Israel. The Lord our God is one. Lord. So where are you getting these 2 and 3? They like to say in the beginning God created. Oh no, that's Elohim, that's me, that's talking about 3. They triune. No, they're telling you a lie. That means the supreme being. He's one. Because if he's one here and he's 3 up in the front in Genesis, that makes this verse a lie. Don't let people fool you. How do we know this? How many gods is there? We know right here, one God. Here we know fact. One God. How do we know? Deuteronomy 6 and verse 4. Clear as day. One God. So I'm going to tell you that Yahweh Shai is God in the flesh, and they lying to you again. No way possible you're going to be finding that all in Scripture. But we got to prove some things in here, which we're going to go to. So we need to find out a little bit more about this spirit. Let's look at Isaiah. And you see I done ran out. I done ran out of room, but that's okay, because I got other places I can do with it. And I told you, I do things a little bit different, but we're going to prove a point. Actually, I can do this here. I can put this here. Let me change this temporarily, and I could change it 6 and 4. Oh, I'll tell you what, I can't not do it. I have to use Isaiah. So you guys go back over here on your preceptors, and what we're going to do, we're going to look at Isaiah. We're going to look at 43 in verse 3. 43 in verse 3, we got to look and understand what this is saying. It says, "For I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One." Don't say the Holy Ones, the Holy One of Israel. Thy, meaning only, Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia for Seba, for thee. One God. Why are they telling you 3? Manifested in the flesh. He was made known in the flesh. It was made known in the flesh of Yahushua. Making it just clear as day. We have to stop dealing with silliness. It's plain. Let's look at another verse, and we're going to make this some clear stuff, and then we're going to add to our facts. And we got to look at another fact. We're going to look at 54. 54 in verse 5. What do that say? 54 in verse 5. It says, "For thy maker is thy husband." Really? "And the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel." Fact. The Holy One of Israel. Telling you. But watch this. The Holy One of Israel and the God of the whole earth. So, because there's only one God. And that's what he's claiming. There is no other God. So he's God of the earth. It's because there's no other God. That's what he's saying. He's not saying, "Oh, I'm the God of everybody." No, he's the God of Israel, but he's the God of the earth, meaning he's the only supreme being in the world. That's what he's saying. He's making himself clear. That's what he is saying. He's the Holy One belonging to Israel, but he is the God of the entire earth. There is none else. How do we know this? He's telling you that right there. Isaiah. And that is 54 in verse 5. He's making this completely clear. Fact. These are facts that he's making. But we have another one here. We have another one here. We got to go to 55 in verse 5. Let's see what this says. 55 in verse 5. And it says, "Behold, thou shalt call a nation." You see, that's not plural. "A nation that thou knowest not. And the nations that knew not thee shall run unto thee because of the Lord thy." Who? Thy, you, God. "And for the Holy One of Israel," still in the singular, "for he had glorified thee." All singular. So Israel is being called the one nation, divided into 12 tribes. He's making himself clear all the time. He's making himself clear all the time. So we have part of that, and we need to see another part, and we need to look at something. We need to look at what? What? And this is where I actually switch and I actually do something else, but I'm going to do something differently. So we're going to do what, and we're going to do it here, and then I can do my changes to where I can change that up later. What? And actually, let me do this. What is the promise? What is the promise? We got some work we done put in. We are putting in work on for God so loved the world. So how are we going to straighten this up? So what is the promise? In Jacob, and God loved Jacob. So we're going to fill some of this in. So we know what the vow to God in God that he's going to sit there and he's going to do. So what do he say? What do he say? See, because we can't really put it here, but we're going to put it here, and then we're going to add this later, and we're going to remove some of those precepts because we have a ton of precepts, but we need to make something that what that promise is. So what we're going to do is look at something. We're going to look at Exodus chapter 19 and verse 5. The promise. And this is part of the promise. It says, now therefore, if ye obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye should be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Ye should be a peculiar treasure. A peculiar treasure, like jewelry, above all people. All the earth, for all the earth is mine. You follow? You see how he's using this all in what it is. So the promise is this fact. If Israel obey, let me change to the Most High God, because that's just can be blunt. If Israel obey the Most High God's voice, meaning what? His commandments. Then what? Then you will be a peculiar treasure to my God. How? Exodus 19:5 tells you that. Exodus 19:5 tells you this exclusively. And we're going to look back at that. So, if Israel, because we know he only talked to Israel, because it tells you over here, we know this. In Psalms 147, 19, and 20. You see how this all this tying together. So we know he's saying, if Israel obey my voice in my covenant, because only them knows his laws. No one else knows them. You see how you cannot get around this. And you keep it, and you'll be a peculiar treasure until you'll be above all people. For all the earth is his. But only Israel have he known out of all the people of the earth. That's it. How do we know this? He tells you this. Amos 3:2. Tells you that right there. He only known Israel. You cannot get around the verse. So when God so loved the world, we know it now, and it was divided into 12 parts. How do we know this? Because now you get down into where Idris, where they took out second Idris 1411, it was divided into 12 parts, and it's 12 nations. So how are you gonna get around it? You have all your verses right here, everything. So when God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes should not perish but have everlasting life. Who? Israel. He's blunt because they don't even know it. They don't even know it. And this is the problem. We're going to see something else. We're going to put another verse there because you have to fulfill a law. See, because you have regular laws and then you have the laws of God. You have the regular law and you have the laws of God. You have to fulfill those laws. How do we do this? How do we do this? Let's go to James. Let's go to James 2 and verse 8. We're going to read it and then we're going to get the understanding of it. We're going to read it and we're going to get the understanding of it. And it says, if you fulfill the royal law, because it's the law, it's the king's. It's the king's law. According to the scriptures, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. That's the royal law. Because you're fulfilling that's what's in the law. So what this is saying, fact, one must the Most High God. How do we know? It tells you that. One must fulfill the royal laws of the Most High God. You got to fulfill that promise. That's the vow. The vow was made by who? The vow was made with Jacob. It was made with Jacob. You see that? It's right here. See, Jacob made a vow with him. So you must fulfill that royal law. You can't get around it. But he's talking about Israel. So what we want to do, and you can save this, and do you know how many you can do? Take your time and really teach someone what this is about. It's important. It's the royal law. And then we're going to look at something else. And if you fulfill that law, it's to them. And we're going to do the fact there also. And it tells you, blessed are they. Who? Blessed are Israel. Because R is not there. R is italicized, so it's not actually there in the scriptures. That's why it's italicized. It says, bless they. Who? Israel. Bless Israel. That's who they is. That do his commandments, that Israel may have the right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates into the city. Why? Because if you fulfilling the royal law and you obey his voice, you will have right to that tree of life. He's telling you, it's all simple. It's all simple. So fact. So Israel must fulfill the Most High God to enter in through the gates into the city of God. How do we know that? Revelations 22:14 telling you this distinctly. Uh-oh. Telling you this distinctly. Uh-oh. Now, I don't know what went on here. Let me see. Actually, it kind of froze up. 1 second. There we go. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that, you guys. And let me go here. I'm going to bold that. And we have that. So we know Israel must fulfill the laws of the Most High God to enter in through the gates into the city of God. How do we know? Revelations 22:14 tells you that. You have to fulfill that promise, that vow that was made. Who? Israel. You see how bluntly he's just talking to Israel. And it's all based on what? Because if not, you get something else. So if not, you're going to see something else. So how are we going to find out? If not, if you don't fulfill it. How are you going to know if you don't fulfill it? We're going to look at this. We're going to look at something else. We're going to look at 2 John. And we're going to look at 9. 2 John 9. It says, whosoever transgresseth and abide not in the doctrine of Christ. So you know you don't abide in that doctrine of the Spirit, have not God. So he's not there at all. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he have both the Father and the Son. You see that? So this is what he's saying here. This is what he's saying here. Fact. So if one is sinning, it means it's clear as day. Through disobedience, have not the that's clear. If one is sinning through disobedience, have not the laws of God in his heart. That's clear. Because that's what they're saying. Because you're not going to abide in this doctrine. That's clear. And if you are, you have the to this end. How do we know? Because it's telling you that that's who Christ is. That's a fact. That's a fact. So if one is sinning through disobedience, have not the laws of God in his heart. And if you are, let me change that up. Them. If you are keeping them, you have the Father and his Spirit. That's clear. You need to make sure you save that. Yeah, I had to save. I'm sorry, but I had to do it because I actually forgot to save. And I want to make sure. And I don't know why it keep doing that over here. Dang. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know why it's freezing. I really don't. There we go. Yeah, it's freezing for some reason. And actually, you see I unbolted all my stuff over here. Weird. This is weird. I guess probably I did not save it from the beginning, but no, but I did. But we want to make sure that we have what we need to do what we want to do. And we want to sit there and go through what's going on. So we have that there. So we want to make sure all what we have going on here. Now, we want to sit there. So if you have that disobedience through there, but then, and this is all based on what? All based on what? Because he said from the beginning, so God so loved the world. He so loved Israel. So we know this. So it's based on love. It's based on love. It's based on love. So we need to understand something. Let's look at this. John 14:15. You see, and these are just facts we're pulling up, but we didn't have enough room all up here. And I'm going to come back down to this. John 14:15, it says, if you love me, keep my commandments. Providing you love me, keep my commandments. Providing you love the Most High, keep those commandments. Fact. You how do we know that? It tells you right there. Tells you right here, plain as day. And they'll tell you the commandments are done away with. They'll tell you his commandments are done away. And you see right here, we're doing this clear. All proven. These are facts that's in the Bible that we can run through and expand on it just endless. Something else we got to put there. Fact. Well, now before I get there, let's go to 1 John. Sorry, I was going to just put it ahead of time, but 5 and 3. And these are really how you break down and you start even doing your studies. This is how you even break it down. You see right here, just based on for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. Look at all the verses we have in the Preceptor just to explain this verse. This is the beauty of this application. It keeps you focused. It keeps you focused. And I haven't even gotten into diagramming it, because I do a lot of different things when I do this. I'm talking to where you just cannot get around it. But we're going to look at this. 1 John 5 and chapter 5 and verse 3. It says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. So to show that you love God, fact. Show. Keep his commandments. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot, I missed the D. Yeah, okay. So, to show you love God, keep his commandments. I don't know why it's showing like that. I know that's spelled right. Well, it should change. It should change. So, to show that you love God, now just put the, there we go. So, to show that you love God, keep his commandments. If you're going to show you love God, it's telling you that right there in 1 John 5:3. For this is the love of God. For this is showing you love God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments is not grievous. This is showing that you love God. This is showing that you love God. We're going to look at another one. We're going to go to another one because this is just proving what's going on. Jude 21. Jude 21. When he says, keep yourself in the love of God. Keep yourself in the love. So keep those commandments, looking for the mercy. So you're looking for mercy, which is love of him giving you back for our Lord Jesus Christ unto eternal life. So you keep them throughout your life, into eternal life. That's all he's saying. I'm talking about this is all he's saying. This is all he's speaking about. Meaning what? So we're going to look at some of this. So we're going to look at a fact. And we need to have that fact. Keep yourselves in the love of God. Keep yourselves, keep the commandments of the Most High God. How? We're going to put a little caveat there. Little caveat there. Some of you guys might need that there for you to keep in memory, because some stuff that I keep very well in my mind, I normally don't put it there unless I'm really doing another type of teaching. But if you look at Romans chapter 7, verse 1. If you look at Romans chapter 7, verse 1, it says, know ye not, brother, for I speak to them who know the law. Why? How that the law have dominion over a man as long as he liveth. You see that? He's telling you something blunt. Paul telling you this, and they'll tell you Paul said the law is done away with. How the law have dominion over man as long as he live. This is what's going on. This is what is actually happening. So, out of all together, what did he do? What did he do? We know we were scattered. Why? Because the Bible tells us that. He tells us this. We went all through this. He tells you right here. Fact. God scattered his people. Tells you this. Clear. Why was we scattered? Because he's telling you right here, that's this fact. We have to keep those commandments. These are facts. So you have to avoid people who's giving you false doctrine. You avoid them. How do we know that? Bible tells you this. Let's look at this. We're going to look at this even closer. We're going to go to Romans. We're going to look at 16 and verse 17. Let's go to 16 verse 17. It says, now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause division in offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. You have to avoid the ones who's teaching contrary to the doctrine in the Bible. So fact. You see all this, and all this is going to end up summing up. But it's saying now we have to avoid, and that's what he's telling you to avoid. And we have to I have to put that there. Things you cannot see in the scriptures. Why I put that there? Because what they're going to teach you, you cannot see it. They give you silhouette pictures and caveats and make you believe something that is not true. So, same as they say with Trinity, something you can't see in the Bible, why do you believe it? Why do you believe it? You can't believe it because it's not in the Bible. They say that God placed a seed in Mary. You can't see it, but you believe it. Everything we have showed you thus far, you've seen everything. Proven according to scriptures. Not doing nothing special. Precepts is king. We have another one we got to put, so we know another one we got to put in here. We're going to put in 2 John 1 and 10. 2 John 1 and 10. And it says, if there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine. It's talking about what's in that book. Receive him not unto your house, neither bid him Godspeed. So even if people come to you and do that, don't be, oh, God bless you, which that don't mean what it says. You don't sit there and even bless them. Get on. This is what the Bible is telling you. Neither bid them Godspeed. And we're doing contrary to what the Bible's saying. So we got a fact. And this is the main thing. Don't bid them anything of the Most High God. Period. To where they can mix that up. That's what this is saying. People teaching other than the truth, do not bid them anything of the Most High God. Period. Read it. If there come any unto you and bring not this doctrine that's in the Bible, and if you notice, we're not even adding on to anything, receive them not unto your house, neither bid them Godspeed. Period. But through disobedience is why we were scattered. Through disobedience. Through disobedience, scattered the one people. God scattered Israel among the people. And we have to do something even when we're there. We have to obey his voice. People will tell you all kind of other stuff, and they'll sit there, well, how do you celebrate this feast day, this feast day, this and that? And the reason I don't teach that, because a lot of them will sit there and heraldise it, and a lot of people love to do Passovers, and they like to do it with the lamb. And the biggest problem that you have, and the reason I don't teach it and I don't show it, because I don't want them heraldizing it in any type of way, because soon as you break one bone on that lamb, you cannot use it. Most people, I just want to go get a rack of lamb. I just want to go get the leg. Cannot use it. It's broken. They sit there and they'll run it through the head. They'll take it, sometimes run it from the rear end through the head, and then they turn it and they put it over fire. Cannot use it. Head was pierced. Not one bone was broken. How many people do you know that do Passover every year in these camps, in these churches, and they do it every year, and the lamb is in all pieces? If you have everybody all together, you cannot sit there and separate that lamb. This is the silliness on what people do. this is why you sit there and you need to understand what doctrine is and what the truth is in the Bible. Because they teaching you a doctrine of what they do, what they think is best that you should see. This is the problem. But wherever he sends you, we're going to look at something. We're going to look at Jeremiah 29, verse 4 through 6. Jeremiah 29, 4 through 6. And we're going to sit there and see what that says. It says, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, the God of singular Israel, unto all that are carried away captive, whom I have caused thee to be carried away. I told you that's what he did. Carried away from where? From Jerusalem. Unto confusion. Unto Babylon. That's what he did. Why? Because we did disobedient. Just being disobedient children. Being hard-headed, not doing what we're supposed to be doing. And what he tells you. He said, build ye houses, and dwell in them, and plant gardens, and eat of the fruit of them, and take ye wives, and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased and not diminished. It's not saying going in other nations, because he was only spoken to one nation. But you have many people who have went and mixed with other nations, and then they mix with other gods. So I mean what? So wherever you go, you obey the laws of God. Fact. So wherever we go, we are to obey the laws of God. No matter where we go, we are to obey the laws of God. Period. We have another one we're going to go down to. We're going to look at, and we're going to look at that, and we're going to go down to the same place, and we're going to look at this. And we're going to make we're going to do this because we're going to make some changes to it. We're going to look at also verse 28. It says, for therefore he sent unto us in Babylon. So he sent unto us, and in is not there. He sent unto us Babylon, confusion, saying, this captivity is long. See, this one is long. Because we're stiff-necked people. We're stiff-necked, hard-headed. This is just plain as day. We're hard-headed. Why? Because we like to justify things and use them for ourselves. We're justified and change it. And he keep telling us don't do that. And we keep doing it. We're justified to where we'll do what we want to do. So he says, this captivity is long. Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. This is what he said to do. Why? Why did all this happen? For God so loved the world, gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Why? Because Jacob made a vow, and we broke it. Yahweh came seeking the lost and to save Israel. Why? Why? Let's look at this. Exodus 22 through 5. It says, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of bondage, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other God before me. People sitting there, well, I got this cross and this. It's not God. You want to sit there and put on a representation of what you want to see as God, and he tell you do not make anything that is above the heavens, on the earth, in the air, under the water, anywhere. And guess what? And you'll sit there and say, well, I have a cross, so I'm just going to wear it. He ain't going to cross. This is our problem. That's our problem. We justify anything and then say, well, it's not a salvation breaker. This is the famous word that people love to use. It's not a salvation breaker. How do you know? Did God tell you that? He killed a man for picking up sticks, for Christ's sakes. And now you're going to sit there, well, it's not a salvation. How do you know? Who did you talk to? And clear it up with. This is the problem. So we know what he said, that we should not make any graven images. Thou shalt not make unto thee any. What do any mean? Or likeness of anything in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I am the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third, fourth generation of them that hate me. What are we doing, folks? What are we doing? So what is he saying? What is the problem? Fact. Not to make I'm putting the Most High God because I keep wanting to do it in my other way, but I keep knowing I'm doing this out in the front, so I want to just make sure we clear. So that's why I'm changing that. And then we want to make sure we're doing a lot of this here. So as we asking questions, we said not to make images or gods before. What are the images? Idols. We're not to do this, but we do. Well, it was a gift. Don't wear it. You don't do these things. What else did we do? So what was our problem? This was the beginning of the end. But it shall come to pass. Saying this is actually going to happen. If thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, and observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall overtake thee. That's what he came for. Fact. Oh, well, why that didn't show that way? Fact. The reason Yahweh had to come For them who will obey the voice of the Most High God instantly, which Paul spoke about. Which Paul spoke about. This is your short understanding. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son to come and to teach you what you must do. For them that will obey his voice. Why? How do we know this? John 1, go to John 1:12. It tells you this. Let's look at John 1:12 real quick. John 1 and verse 12. It says, but as many as received him, to them he gave power to become sons of God, even them that believed on his name. He's clear all through here, all through the Bible. But what have we done? We have taken his word and made it a lie. We have taken his word and made it a lie. I'm going to say this, and I don't know if some people might want this who don't have it, and I will take a screen capture of it. And if you do want this and you don't have a preceptor, it's best you can go to the moab.com, mow-ed.com. You can actually get this program that I'm actually using, which a lot of people have. And what I will also do, you can go over there and many other things over there. So you can go there. Actually, let me see if I can do this real quick for you. Hopefully I can. If I can, I will show it to you, to which you can actually see this program that we're using. And because we do a lot of studies, I'm going to be doing a lot of study we're going to try to be doing during the week. And let me see if I can get this up and rolling. And actually, let me log out of this to where I can just show you what else is going on. So let me log out and then let me pull that over and it should work. So let me pull this there. And let me get this here. And basically, let me put that back up. Actually, so this is where you can actually go. You can actually go here. And if you want some images, you can actually hit this contact here, and it's info@preceptmastery.com. If you want to send any correspondence or anything, you can send it to P.O Box 1261, Chino Hills, California 91709. And you can go over here to Precept Mastery, and you can actually go right inside the store, and you can go and you can actually find exactly what you're looking for here, which you can actually see everything that is here, which I'm looking for it in another way, but it's other ways to which you can do it. But you'll see the preceptors is here, and those are the upgrades, but I do have other ones that you can find that you'll see that you can actually go through the Bible, and we have other things there. However, you want to make sure that you get the preceptor if you come over here. The reason why, because you can actually precept the Bible, and if you notice, we never went outside the Bible. Never have to go outside of it. Why? Because it shows you what you need to know. When people want to sit there and tell you different things, and they want to run you to concordance and run you to commentaries and the Septuagint, they want to run you through everything, and then they want to say, no, this means this and this means that. The Bible, the King James Bible, is a dictionary, commentary, and history book, all wrapped into one. And with that precept, we show you exactly how to do it. So we're going to be running these pretty much on a weekly basis, to where we're going to be going through that and going through the precepts on there. So if you want to make sure that you want to join in with us to where you can do this work, and then basically what will happen, you can be looking and be doing the work. And I'm telling you, because I'm going to tell you, you're going to learn a tremendous amount of information. And if you look at this again, I can try to put that up there, and you can sit there and see Let me move that around, and you see what is going on here. You have more precepts than the law allowed to prove your point. Israel is to one people. And we still didn't get it all quite finished. But the point is right here. The reason Yahweh came, for God so loved the world, gave his only begotten son. Why? Because once we were scattered, he had to come to them who would be obedient to his word. This is what he came to do. And many of us still not going to do it. I don't care what you do, they're just not going to do it. So what I want you to do is, if you want to get it, go over there. You can sit there and you can send an email, whatever, and I can send you a screenshot of this. However, it's better to where you can get the Preceptor yourself, but I will send a screenshot if you request it. And you can get this, but this is a tool to which you should use to where you can teach your people. You can teach people in your Bible study. You can teach them what this word is. And if you see right there, this Bible study just on John 3:16 will probably run you a couple of weeks, because most people like to do Bible study for about an hour. And right now we've been running almost 3 hours just on this study. Just on this study. My studies normally go longer than this, just to pull for this. But these are the things that we need to do when you truly want to be a student of the Most High God's Word. It's not something to where, let me go look at this commentary, oh, this says this, and let me. It's not saying that. You have to precept the Bible. So, hopefully, you guys will remember this, and as you continually go to where we can all join together to where you'll sit there and see what the Bible has really been trying to tell you the entire time. Because this is what it's about. So with that, we're going to cut here, and we're going to go off, and if you would like, we join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be picking up the second part of the stones tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Pacific time. So I don't know what time zone you're in, but 8 o'clock Pacific time a.m. where we'll be doing a teaching on the stones, which is going to be the most interesting part, because we're going to find out what those 12 stones actually are. That's what we're going to be doing. So as we're going to go through here, and I'm Elder Michael Johnson. I'm with the Lost Sheep of Israel in Precept Mastery, and I am your Hebraist precept teacher on what we do and showing you how to actually precept the Bible. So with that, until tomorrow, I say to each and every person, Shalom.